Hello and welcome back to the Final Whistle podcast. My name is Harry McBain, and I'm joined only by Adam O'Connell this week because Bob is feeling ill. So I think he's just threatened by Adam's good work so far that he is on the verge of becoming a permanent host. It got very, very close on the Instagram poll.
It was a 50-50.
It was 50-50, so we're going to have to make a big judgment call. But anyway, yeah, so it's just me and Adam today, and we're going to go through a few things. We're going to go through, obviously, Liverpool Man United being postponed, the big old charge onto the pitch by United fans, Mourinho being announced as the new Roma manager for next season, and then also as well as like the Champions League, Man City getting to the final, and the semi-final as of tonight's recording, which is Chelsea versus Real Madrid, and so 1-1 on aggregate. But we start off, as I said there, with Liverpool Man United, Adam. I think it's now been pushed back to like the 13th of May. What were your thoughts of as a Liverpool fan, obviously, because they were going against their owners, and I know like the Liverpool owners aren't as popular. Would you like to see maybe like Liverpool fans doing something of that big of a gesture to try and get their attention?
I'd like the Liverpool fans, like either that live like in Liverpool or around Liverpool, that can go to Anfield and like to do something not like what the United fans did and push back a game, but like do a protest that is big enough to get the attention of the Liverpool owners and make a say in what the fans actually want instead of just letting their owners do what they want.
Yeah, and on a poll we put on the Instagram story, if you're not following the Instagram, go and check it out. We put lovely, informative polls up there. I'll put the link in the description of this, and if you're listening on Spotify, then it's just at Final Whistle _ podcast. So you go follow that. But like we did a thing going, was it a justified or did they go too far? And it was, I think justified won. But then there was this element of going too far. There was the corner flag got nicked.
Show and tell on Monday's gonna be great.
Yeah, that was quite funny. But that it was quite a big impact. But one of the problems I've had with it was that, like, knowing the owners, they're mega rich. They don't live in the UK. I don't actually think that they could care less if Man United fans were on the pitch. Obviously, commercial revenue of the game being pushed back, but that's just even more sponsorship money and everything that the club will be getting. So I don't think. Do you
The
think it would
Sky
have actually had
Sports,
an impact on it?
um, it could have. I think it could have maybe Um,
Just
I
because
was
they
I
were.
saw this.
Go on,
Yeah,
go
go
on.
on. Sorry.
No,
I saw
it's
this thing like but just before recording how Sky Sports like interviews saw the Man United owner like seeing if he had anything to say about trying to make a new Super League or whatever. He didn't apologize or say nothing to them whatsoever, like anything like towards the fans. So I don't think I don't think like if most owners are like him, I don't think any of them would really care about
yeah.
like what the fans want.
I was listening to Talksport earlier, and it was the former Crystal Palace owner. Can't remember what he's called now, but it will probably come back to me. It was basically saying that the way that Sky Sports covered it, and the narrative that they were playing on it, it was this reporter was chased, like going after him and asking these questions, walking on and caught him. He didn't reply, but that's not. They're saying, oh, he's refusing to apologize. He's not necessarily
Yeah,
refusing to apologize. He's refusing to comment on it.
yeah.
But I think you can probably infer that he doesn't want to say anything that might not go against a club narrative. But it was just quite an interesting one. Obviously, a lot of people are annoyed watching the game, having the game obviously being delayed. And
One
obviously,
of those.
it was quite interesting watching the pundits. Obviously, they were all up in the like the Sky Sports box, having
Yeah,
to rubbish about like summer signings for Man United because they had nothing else to do and they were just waiting for
they had to
confirmation.
waffle their way through hours and hours of waiting to try to see what
Exactly.
was happening.
And
Fair play to them, I suppose.
I think the reason the game was postponed was that because apparently Man United fans, when they were leaving, got like ushered out of the tunnel because there were quite a few in the tunnel, and that
Yeah,
they also like went into some of the changing rooms, and apparently that zone's like a red zone where only the players and staff were allowed, so they had to deep clean it all.
yeah, due to
Um,
like COVID restriction and whatever else.
Surely you would think, wouldn't the security be better at a big stadium to try stop people breaking in? Otherwise, you could just have
Yeah,
that every week, couldn't you?
yeah. I think now that's happened once. What's to say it's not gonna happen again?
Mm.
security can't, like, I get it was like hundreds and hundreds of them, but like I don't think hundreds of went into the change rooms. About 25 people max went in them. And I think a couple of security guards could probably stop them because they're security and they should be like chunky guys. You never know. What's worse? Man United security, Arsenal defense.
Arsenal defense worse, way worse. We got David Luiz there. And then
True.
this is left of Man United having 4 games in 7 days. They've got Roma in the Europa League, I think tomorrow night on Thursday. And then they've got Aston Villa, Leicester, and then Liverpool. So some tough fixtures there. We saw them win last week 6-2 after coming back from behind at Roma. Really good performance from them. Do you think that they're going to win the Europa League? Obviously, there's some other good teams in there, and you never know, Roma could come back. And also, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the job he's done at United is pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, yeah. I think Ole's done very well to put United where they are at the moment, and I think United are one of the favourites to win the Europa League this year. Sorry, and I think they might win it as well. Because who's playing in the semi-finals? You said
it's them and Roma, and then it's Arsenal and this is annoying. Let me have a look.
I know Arsenal lost 2-1, didn't they? Were they away or at home?
They
were away, weren't they?
Villarreal, so they were away and they lost like 2-1, I think.
Yes, they need to win it. They need to get at least 2-1 like at home and 3-1 to win. Because if they win, their opponents score 2 goals, that's Arsenal are over.
Definitely.
Over.
Yeah, getting the away goal will be vital for them.
Yeah.
And also, if you're looking at Roma, Jose Mourinho was announced this week that he's going to be the new manager at the start of next season. What do you make of that appointment? Do you think it's going to be good for them?
I think from a Roma point of view, I think they'd be excited to bring in a new manager. And I have no idea how they're doing in the table, but I think bringing in someone like Mourinho, given his past, I think they'll be quite excited, and hopefully they don't bin him off like Tottenham did.
Yeah, they are 7th in Serie A, so they are 12 points off the European spot. So not great, and their coach is out of contract at the end of the season, so that's how they're working it.
So hopefully Mourinho can bring them to Europe football.
Yeah, hopefully, and that'll be probably the idea from the board. I think it's quite a good appointment for Roma, as you just said there. I think it's also you can clearly see that this had been lined up in case he had been sacked by Spurs, because that was very quick movement for Jose to get into another job. And let's be honest, he wasn't going to get another one in the Premier League at all. Yeah. So going back to Italy, isn't it?
Yeah. I think speaking of Jose Mourinho, on his Instagram recently, I think he's mocking it towards Tottenham a little bit, because he's posting like every trophy he's ever won, like, and what's happened with it. So I think
it's quite funny.
He's having a little bit of fun there. Yeah.
And I saw earlier Ryanair had put out on Twitter about like, oh, Jose Mourinho will be glad to hear our flights from London to Roma are just $14.99 due to his lack of trophies at Spurs. We were expecting he would just be having carry-ons or whatever.
Handheld luggage. I saw that. I couldn't believe it. They're on smoke.
It was brilliant.
It was. Yeah.
And then if you look at Spurs, do you think Spurs again should get or will get a younger manager? Nagelsmann's going to go to Bayern Munich, so we're ruling him out. Do you think they should get a younger manager to try and do a bit of a rebuild and restructuring of the squad like they did with Pochettino? Or do you think they should go for an instant impact, or like the Chelsea approach of getting in someone that's going to go in, that's going to challenge for a title, put the squad, like make them a bit firmer together?
Well, I would usually say like get a more experienced manager and put the firm together and like go for straight for titles, but I think they did that with Mourinho and they got rid of him straight away. So I feel like they should go for a more younger manager that no one's heard of, but like he's not as big as like Mourinho or I think if they do get a new like younger manager, I think that'd be good for them, because like new tactics. You could see better football from Tottenham and maybe even a title or two.
Yeah, it's going to be strange for them. They've got to find, I think, with the level that they're at, you've either got to go for someone that's an established Premier League manager who's kept a club up. this young that can build a team. Obviously, Pochettino was quite young when he was at Southampton and then took over.
Yeah.
So the one I can think of that's young would be Eddie Howe, but he's nowhere near. I don't think he's good enough to take the take the Tottenham job. I just think he's got
Yeah.
enough experience about him. Um, I'm just trying to think of other Premier League managers that you could get in, or just European ones. I guess it's going to be a really tough one. They were linking, like there was a link between them and the Ajax manager, like Erik Den Haag or whatever. But he's just signed a new contract with Ajax, actually. So they were having to go look somewhere else. There was links with like a former Leipzig manager who like took them from the bottom up to the Bundesliga, which might be a good one. He apparently, a lot of people saying he's a good manager, but that would be an interesting one to see if anything comes with it and who they do appoint. I would think I think they're keeping Ryan Mason till the end of the season, I would imagine.
Yeah, probably. They could even keep him for next season because I think like because obviously like he's not done too well recently, but like he's not done awful like as a new manager coming in. So I think they could keep him for next season, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, that would be a cool, like a interesting approach from the club. He's 29, I think, so he would be a young person who knows the squad well. It's just question is,
Yeah.
does he have enough experience? Does he have enough about him to really get it? It might be worth getting like a technical director in to help him out or something on that approach. So Man City I'll say last night, but this will probably go up on Thursday. So on Tuesday night, beat PSG in the semi-finals of the Champions League to send them through to their first ever Champions League final. Phil Foden was
10 years in the
magical.
making.
Yeah, it only took him a while. PSG, I must say, were awful. I don't know whether you watched the game or the highlights.
No, I hadn't. No, I was busy last night, which is annoying.
They were absolutely rubbish. I mean, the first leg, all right, they kind of had a bit more control, but once City took the lead, they were rubbish. Were just diving and giving away fouls. And then apparently, I don't know whether you saw, Sir Alex Ferguson had been to the hotel that they were staying in and gave like a 20-30 minute team talk about how to beat Man City. And then they still did worse than they did in the first leg. Which obviously,
perhaps Alex Ferguson is really a mole behind it all and wants City to win.
yeah, maybe. But they
Probably
were utterly awful. Like Di Maria got sent off. I think it was the ball went off the pitch and he just stood on he stamped on Fernandinho, just like what are you doing, you idiot? They were just giving away fouls, but I think Verratti was lucky to not get sent off.
Yeah.
And I think one of the issues is Pochettino, good manager. I think with PSG, I think there's too many egos in the side. Obviously they've got Neymar and lots of other players, and I think maybe that's their issue, that they just can't. They couldn't handle themselves after like losing. Do you think that Pochettino's a strong enough manager to maybe kick out those egos, or because do you think he's more of like a people pleaser?
I think he's more, like you said, people pleaser. I think he'll just like because I think the fans, like PSG fans, more to the point, like they like having Neymar and Mbappe and having all the big names in PSG. So I feel like if he gets rid of any of them, that's it. The fans are gonna go at him. And I think for the French football, I think the fans have more say in what they do in like most leagues, except the Bundesliga. Yeah, so I think he would just keep them purely because of the fans. But I think he doesn't maybe need to get rid of like Mbappe or even Neymar and like take them back to like a different club. So therefore, then like they'd have, like you said, the egos controlling the game.
Yeah, well, because they've bought like big name players. Apparently, they're going to offer Messi like a 2-year contract with an optional extra year to pay him a hell of a load of money. And apparently, Neymar wants to play with him again. So
can they afford him though? Like Mbappe's on high wages. Di Maria's on high wages. So is Neymar. Can they afford like another high wage player? Like that's four.
The question, I don't really know how rich the PSG owners are. I know they're really rich, but I don't know also how tight their FFP is and everything. So it would be interesting to see there with FFP. What are your thoughts on financial fair play? Because obviously there's a difference between it in the Premier League and the Championship, just with the levels of money that each club has. Do you think it's something that should be abandoned? Because we've seen Man City getting away with spending hundreds of millions because it's the only clubs it impacts really are the EFL clubs because, well, in
Yeah,
England especially, because they are short on money anyway, and we're seeing clubs go bust. Do you think it's something that we should either change the rules about each division or
I
just get
think
rid of it?
I think like if teams are going to spend lots of money, I think for instance, like so, like say they got away with it, which is quite lucky to be fair. I think if teams are spending like they are hundreds of millions per year, they shouldn't be allowed to do that. I don't think. Like because it's not fair on like the like clubs that are in the EFL, like you said, and don't have as much money as the major teams, and like they won't be able to grow because that's what City have done. Pep Guardiola said it himself. He said in an interview like not so long ago, saying how he's literally they're just rich. That's the reason they got there is because he's just spent a lot of money, and the fans are like they're not liking it what he said, but it's true, and I don't think it's fair at all. Unlike in the little clubs, to be fair.
I think it's I don't have a major problem with them spending their money because they can spend it. Obviously, it's not great for the game because like City have just got basically a mid even a top 10 Premier League like starting 11 on their bench, which it's good construction. They've had poor signings as well. They've had like Bravo, Mangala, and loads of other poor signings who haven't worked off, and they've sold them off. Fair play to them. They've made like over 100 million profit each season. So fair play. But it's the financial fair play thing that I have the problem with mainly is that when it comes to EFL clubs, last season Forest had to sell Matty Cash to Aston Villa to like keep up with financial fair play. This summer we might have to sell Joe Worrell to keep up with financial fair play, and we're
Yeah,
losing the best assets just because maybe like just because of the financial fair play rules. And I remember a few seasons ago at Forest we had the transfer embargo because of financial fair play. Um, it's just a bit of a strange one because it only seems to impact the teams lower down with their rules because they maybe can't pay off UEFA or whatever and afford the
yeah.
greatest lawyers. But it's a fun system that we'll have to hopefully change over the coming years. So as we said earlier, the Real Madrid Chelsea match in the Champions League, it might have happened by the time this goes out. Um, but what do you make of Chelsea since Tuchel's come in? Because he's done really well, and I don't think they would have gotten this far under Frank Lampard in the
Yeah.
Champions League.
No, I think Chelsea have really stepped up their game since Tuchel taken over. And like I said, I don't think if Lampard was still involved, they might have got Europa League, but I doubt they'd be in the semi-finals and possibly the finals of the Champions League
Mm.
against if they still had Lampard. But I think Tuchel he's done really well to put them where they are now. Yeah,
I think it's also kind of gone a bit under the radar. Like no one's going out there praising him for like turning it around very much. I haven't seen too much about it anywhere really, and I think fair enough to him. He's done a good job in the time he's been there. And hopefully he can. Hopefully for Chelsea fans, he can turn it around for them and maybe get
yeah.
some trophies next year.
I think it is just because it's Chelsea and no one like as not I don't know many Chelsea fans, but there might be loads. There might be loads that I don't know about. Obviously there is, but like I think because it's Chelsea, Chelsea's not very well like clubbed like from other teams. Like because like some teams they don't mind Liverpool, but like it's just the fans they don't like, and some teams don't mind United. But like Chelsea, one of them clubs like you just don't like them.
Mm.
It's just yeah. I think, but if they win the Champions League this season, then I think Tuchel's name will be out there a lot more, and he'll get a lot more respect over social media.
Yeah, that would be a massive one for him to get and for the club to get. Who do you think is going to get it? Real Madrid, fair enough to them. They played very well against Liverpool.
Yeah,
I have a feeling the final will be Real Madrid versus Man City, and I have a feeling it will be close. But out of those two teams, I want Man City to win it. What do you think is going to happen in the final, and who do you think is going to lift it?
finals. I think Real Madrid's gonna pull off against Chelsea, and I really want Madrid to win. I really do.
Yeah,
I don't want City to just start winning every title there is.
I think it would be
Because
like I like Pep Guardiola, so I'd want him to win it after like all the work he's done there. Um, but yeah, it's spending your way to the top. It's a bit iffy. And also, if we look at obviously Guardiola's been a brilliant manager. Zinedine Zidane, you could call him underrated for the job he's done at Real Madrid, winning back-to-back Champions Leagues, and people now
yeah,
seeing how difficult that is. Obviously, Liverpool did it. Liverpool haven't managed to do it.
We were close. We were
Yeah,
close.
but there were other teams as well that haven't been able to do it, and he's been able to do it. Bayern
Yeah.
haven't been able to do it this season. But do you think he's an underrated manager? Obviously, because maybe just because it's the Spanish league and we don't hear too much about them too often.
Yeah, obviously because like obviously being like in England, we don't really like speak of other leagues like Bundesliga, La Liga, and like all them other leagues. But I think like because of that, he is very underrated. Like coming from us, because we speak of all the Premier League managers and like the team like that, but we don't really go on to like Zinedine Zidane. I like think, oh yeah, he's pretty good because like, I think he's like he played for Madrid, didn't he as well? Like,
Yeah.
and I think he's done really well to do the back-to-back Champions League, and I think he's very underrated for that. So yeah, not well spoken of.
Yeah, I think if he wins the Champions League this season, he definitely probably get a lot more credit than what he's getting at the moment. But we'll have to wait and see. Thank you everybody for listening to this this episode of the podcast. Obviously, Bobby, as we said, he's ill, so you got the delight of
Back
us
next week.
Yeah, hopefully he's back next week. We might push out an episode later next week due to exams. Good old fun. But in the meantime, make sure you are following all the social medias. They are on the banner of the Instagram of the YouTube, sorry, that we got done recently. We got a cheeky little rebrand on it there. But make sure you're following them, you're subscribed, and make sure to drop a like on the video and show us a bit of love. Thank you. That was the final whistle.